I had a thought. Instead of posting my patch rundowns 3 days before the new patch, maybe I should post it so you guys actually have time to watch it and climb. So that's what this video is for. These are my initial thoughts for patch 13.5. This is a tier list I created and we'll be going through it from bottom to top, starting in the Ha tier. These 3 comps all received buffs in the last patch and they are all still terrible. The first comp, Cast Blitz Reroll, this is our board on level 7, and I think this comp is really bad. MOGG, a really good Taiwanese player, and my father has had some success with this comp, but if you look at the stats, Cassiopeia and Blitzcrank 3 average lower than just a TF3, so the items are kind of similar, just play Twisted Fate Reroll instead. The second comp is Silco, and we've all played and seen Silco like 100 times before. The comp is just so weak right now that I would not play it unless you natural Silco and Mordekaiser 2, and you probably need a LeBlanc all on level 8. And the last comp for this tier is 6 Pit Fighter Flex. This is a sample board that I made, but you need the emblem, and I think even then, at best, it's a top 4 comp. One strat I have seen floating around is that if you have a Pit Fighter emblem and you manage to hit a Savika before the anomaly round, then you can just put calling card on your Savika and you have 8 Pit Fighter. That is probably guaranteed top 2. The comp is really bad, but 8 Pit Fighter is broken. Moving up a tier, we have comps that I think are only good in certain spots. Now, just because this tier is lower than the tier we're going to talk about next, it doesn't necessarily mean that these comps are weaker, they're just a lot more situational. They nerfed Urgot again, which makes him even more conditional than he was last patch. This is our board on level 6, and I would only play this comp in 2 different situations: A, Unleash the Beast, or B, Innervating Locket. Because of those conditions, there are only 2 builds we're going to have for our Urgot: triple Sterax or 1 Innervating Locket and double Sterax. If you get Tristana 3, you should itemize her with Ginsu's Last Whisper and a Giant Slayer. Otherwise, I would probably play around quirky items like IE, Last Whisper, and like a red buff. And your Nunu and supportive tank items like Redemption, Even Shroud, and Sunfire. This is our Zeri board on 6, and the reason why we play Sentinels over Watchers is because of the enabler. I think Raw Dog Zeri is really bad unless your opener is insane Zeri 2 completely upgraded frontline with a Ginsu Slam, so the only 2 times I would ever play Zeri are either with Starry Night and another condition we'll talk about later. Because of Starry Night, we really want to upgrade our frontline, and because the 2-cost Sentinels are much stronger than the 2-cost Watchers, we play the Sentinel version. But if you have a really good Zeri spot and you get like a Firelight Emblem or that Augment Aerial Warfare, you can play the Watcher version, try to 3-star your 2-cost, and then also try to 3-star your Scar. As for builds, if you're playing the Sentinel version, your Zeri wants 2 Ginsus and a Gunblade, and if you're playing the Watcher version, you want a Ginsu, a Gunblade, and an IE or a DB. And of course, your tank wants the tank items, Sentinels want less armor and MR, and then you can just put whatever tank items you want on your Watchers. Tristana is almost the exact same comp as Zeri, and our enablers are either Starry Night or Too Much Value. This is your board on level 6, but if you have too much value, then you replace the Ezreal with an Urgot until you 3-star everything. Always go for the Sentinel frontline, and we prioritize Rel 3 as our main tank, and we want to level for 6 Sentinels as soon as possible. The Trist wants the exact same items as our Zeri, Ginsu, Gunblade, and an IE, and our Rel wants tank items like Warmogs, Redemption, and Sunfire. I talked about this comp in depth in my last video, which is actually linked down below. This is the board on level 7, and the 2 enablers are either Too Much Value or a range +1 on Nocturne. If you have too much value, get as much value from that augment as you can. Go level 7 on either 3-5 or 4-1, and then roll for your upgraded board, 3-star your Loris and your Twisted Fate. For items, your Twisted Fate wants a Shojin, and Archangels need either anti-heal or another damage item. Your Loris wants tank items like Spark, Redemption, Warmogs. And for your remaining items, you either duo carry the Akali or Mbessa if you don't have a ranged artifact for your Nocturne. This comp is honestly pretty hard to play. There's a lot of nuance in the portal that you're in, the augments you get, how deep to roll, when to roll, and everything like that. So if you want to get better at TFT, I am offering free coaching sessions. This video is sponsored by Factor 75, a meal kit delivery service. They have a ton of different meal options to fit any diet. It's super cheap, it's super fast, and honestly, it's good. I actually just had a Factor meal before I filmed this. It took me 2 minutes to heat up and 10 minutes to eat. Saved me a bunch of time. If you use my link in the description, you'll get 50% off your first box plus free shipping and 2 coaching sessions from me, live, water review, whenever you want, whatever you want, you got it. It helps me out a ton, so I'd appreciate it. Anyways, back to the video. These are the comps that are good in most spots. You do not need a specific enabler in order to play them. Even after the Echo nerf, Scrap is still a really strong comp, but Corki 2 is a lot more important now than it was in the last patch. I definitely don't think that Scrap is the same 10 loss into turbo win out comp anymore. There's a ton of comps that can cap higher than Scrap now. You take one bad loss on stage 4, you're 1 life, and on stage 5, some high roller just ends your game. But there are still a ton of win out situations, and after you get to like stage 5-5, if you have all your upgrades and a bunch of items, you hit critical mass and you probably win the game. This is our board on level 8, and we want to go 9 as soon as possible for Rumble. Your Echo wants AP items and a Hodge, and you want to scrap a tier. Your Corki wants the IE, Last Whisper, and a belt, and you put all the other items on all the other units. LeBlanc did get nerfed, but Sorks are still good, and LeBlanc is still a demon. The TLDR game plan is you want to tempo the entire game, go level 8, slight roll for upgraded 3 cost, then go level 9 for LeBlanc and win the game. But if you are stuck on 8, these are the 3 boards that you can play. For items, your Zoe wants Shojin, JG, Guard, or just generic AP and attack speed items. Your LeBlanc wants Ginsu, Shiv, Red Buff, QSS. She does not want a Shojin. I'm sorry about that in the last video. And then you either tank your Swain or your Garen or your Alawi depending on what board you're playing. I'm noticing a pattern with these last 3 comps. I talked about them all in my last video. The patch really did not change that much. This is our board on level 6, and we want to roll for Rel and Renata 3. If you can 3-star the Singed and the Morgana, it's great, but don't overroll for them. After you hit, go level 7 for 6 Visionaries. Starry Night is super good in this comp. It's almost a guaranteed top 4, but I didn't put it in the last tier, which was the conditional tier, because I think this comp is strong enough on stage 2 and stage 3 and early stage 4 to play without Starry Night to accelerate your tempo. Your Renata wants a Shojin and Archangels and either a QSS or a Nashers, and your Rel wants Stone Plate, Crown Guard, Redemption. Put additional damage items and anti-heal either on Morgana 3 or a Heimer or a Malzahar, and then put additional tank items on your Singed. Ambusher reroll did get a little weaker with the Echo nerfs, but I think the comp is honestly still quite strong. The only enablers that shoot this comp up from good to great are the artifacts. Prowlers, DD, Spectral Colors on Camille are all broken. If you don't have an artifact on Camille, you want to roll on 7 for Smeech 3. Hopefully you hit like Echo 2 and Garen 2, but that's not always going to happen. And the item priority goes Smeech, Camille with artifacts, Echo, Garen, and then Camille without artifacts. Your Smeech wants a Hodge, Titans, and a BT in any Orin artifacts you get if you get those. Your Echo probably wants Hodge, and a Rabadons, but Spark is also fine, Crown Guard is fine as well. And you want to put supportive tank items like Sunfire, Redemption, and then Shred on your Garen. With the buff Rebels got to their max HP, I honestly feel like this comp is pretty good, even if you don't have the Rebel emblem. This is our board on level 8, and if you hit 1 Jinx, it can probably stabilize your stage 4, but if you lose rounds, then you need to roll for either the Alawi or the Zoe 2. If you're healthy and you're winning rounds on stage 4, try to go 9 as fast as you can. If you hit Jinx 2, it doesn't matter if you have Zoe like 0.05, you will still win the round. For items, our Zoe wants a Shojin, but when you hit the Jinx, just move that Shojin over as soon as possible. Other than that, you just go for generic AP or attack speed items. The Jinx wants the Shojin, a DB, a Guard Breaker, or a Giant Slayer, and the Alawi wants tank items like Redemption, Vow, and Sunfire. The last comp for this tier, but it's actually like 2.5. Heimer got buffed and you can play him in 3 different comps. The first is Academy. I would play this if your spot is really good, like you have Leona as a real Lux early, and the Academy items are really good. This is our board on level 8, and if you hit a Jace, you can either replace the Lux or you can replace the Corki, depending on what star level he is and how many items you have for him. The second version of Heimer is Visionaries, and there are actually 2 ways to play this board. The first is the Black Rose version, which you're probably going to be playing like 90% of the time. Heimer main carry with Elise as the main tank. You stabilize on level 8 with upgraded 4 cost, and you cap out with Jace and Malzahar. If you have a Visionary spat, you can fit in Leona on level 9 for Sentinel and Academy if the Academy item is good. Otherwise, just play the LeBlanc. The second is some dish soap tech. You play Ken Baron early, and you either cash out 300 for Rennie, or if you're winning, you repeatedly cash out the 100s for the tier 1 items. Go level 8 and roll for Heimer 2. If you're close to the Rennie 3, you continue rolling on 8 for Rennie 3. Otherwise, just push levels for stronger units like Malzahar. Finally, this is the tier. Enforcer +1 is probably the highest cap in the game. Even Caitlyn 1 can one-shot entire boards. The fight lasts 10 seconds. This is our board on level 8. We play 6 Enforcers until you find the Caitlyn. You want to roll for Vi 2, then go 9 to end the game with a Rumble on your board. Vi's best items, Titans, BT, Sterax. Caitlyn wants a mana item, and then damage items like Guard Breaker and IE. Itemize either your Ambessa or your Rumble as your trio carry, and then put supportive tank items like Redemption and Sunfire on your Loris. This comp has been broken the entire set. I'm honestly tired of seeing it. It does get outcapped, but it's so strong on stage 3, 4, and also 5 that you are guaranteed top 3 unless like 5 other people in the lobby are high rolling out of their mind. This is our board on level 6, and if you're close to finding Twisted Fate and Loris and you have items for them, then you can go level 7 and roll for them. Otherwise, I would probably try to tempo to 9 and just fit in 6 costs and 5 costs. This is the board. Don't even need to think about your items. Just roll for the board and get your top 2.